Thousands of farmers are expected to descend on Parliament House next week in protest against coal seam gas exploration. The New South Wales Farmers Association claims the state government's draft regional land use policy does not deliver on its promise to protect land and water resources, and they plan to attend next week's rally in their thousands. In the meantime, a group of landholders in northwest New South Wales is waging its own war against coal seam gas. In what they say is an unprecedented situation, every landholder whose property is covered by an exploration licence is saying no to CSG. As Kathy McLeish reports, it's a simple case of united we stand.
Penny and Rob Blatchford's families have invested in agriculture for generations.
My parents have always been farmers, and my grandparents as well. It's a good life.
Life on the land is not without challenges.
There is no point thinking you're farming only for tomorrow. It's a long term, and it's our future, and it's the future we want for our children if they choose that.
Penny Blatchford majored in law. Now she's applying that knowledge to a challenge the family never saw coming.
Now, the Petroleum Onshore Act, I definitely know quite well, and it's unexpected and not welcome.
In 2010, a Brisbane company called Leichhardt Resources took out a petroleum exploration licence, now known as PEL 470, over properties in this farming area near Moree in northwest New South Wales. It meant the properties were earmarked for coal seam gas exploration. If Leichhardt Resources can make a case for CSG mining here, it would develop the licence to the point that it could be sold to a larger mining company at a profit. With the help of Freedom of Information, the community got hold of the company's environmental report.
There was probably 2 paragraphs and a small table that was allocated to the soils of this region. It said that the soils were sodic through the profile, and that they concluded that the soils were of low agricultural value. It's high agricultural value. There's no denying that. Anybody who's heard of Ballatta knows that the soil is some of the best in New South Wales and Australia.
All 84 landholders under the exploration licence agreed, and the battle got serious. They organised and contributed $30,000 to respond to Leichhardt's environmental report.
We've had legal advice, we've had science, soil scientists, and we've run soil tests as well.
Soil scientist Rob Banks did the tests, and he refutes the Leichhardt findings.
And I can only guess that the people who wrote it actually hadn't been to this area. They're the most productive dryland soils in Australia. They have really high water holding capacity and really high nutrients value.
He maintains the soil in the Ballatta-Gurley region, known as vertisol soils, are fragile and rich and are highly susceptible to erosion.
It can swell by 40 to 80%, and when it dries out, of course, it has to shrink back, and that's why it cracks so much. Those cracks go down 6 to 8 metres, and so if you're talking about putting pipelines or infrastructure beneath the ground, then it's very difficult to place a rigid structure in that soil for the reason that the soil's always moving and it will pull those things apart and break joins in pipes.
The scientist found that coal seam gas exploration here would destroy agriculture.
The landscape won't support the industry, and without the destruction of the primary industry, which is already here.
The landholders say it only added to their concerns when they discovered Leichhardt Resources was actually a shelf company, set up for an investment of just $100.
No landholder should have to enter into an access agreement with a $100 shelf company, not when we're running a multi-million-dollar business.
Leichhardt's exploration licence expires at the end of this month and cannot be renewed without a review by the New South Wales Government. The landholders have already contacted the relevant minister and sent their response and soil report as evidence against the exploration. And along with the report is an unprecedented petition signed by every landholder who would have been affected by the petroleum exploration licence. Under New South Wales law, landholders can make it very difficult for exploration companies to enter their properties.
Everyone has locked their gate.
Lock the gate! Campbell Newman, lock the gate!
Queensland Environment campaigner Drew Hutton is the architect of Lock the Gate.
It doesn't take anything to actually set up one of these companies. Now, the problem comes when they have, in order to keep their licence, they have to actually work the land. So they've got to show a record of doing things that indicate they're exploring for gas. And if they can't they can't prove up the resource, they potentially lose their licence.
Kevin Humphreys is the local member for Barwon and Minister for Western New South Wales. He says the case made by Leichhardt Exploration about poor soil in the area is wrong.
Anyone in this area knows that is fundamentally a mistake. We're dealing with some of the most fertile soil in this country.
The New South Wales Government has a hold on exploration licences while it develops a CSG policy.
When you're getting mining or coal seam gas, in this case exploratory companies coming in and not really even knocking on the door, but largely filtering in from the north out of Queensland and wanting to maybe look at escalating a potential industry without really going through what I believe should be a robust consultation with the community and the landholder, it was always going to be a potential angsty situation, and that's what's happened.
He says, like the landholders, his government is learning lessons from Queensland's experience with the industry.
It was really the mining industry and the extraction industry that was setting the policy and the pace and even the regulation. What's it say to us? Well, you need to have that robust framework up front and defining where you can and where you can't go.
In Victoria's Gippsland, Leichhardt Resources has applied for new exploration licences, and the community is looking north too.
One of the concerns that our farming community has is what the experience of other communities has been right across Australia, and New South Wales and Queensland in particular have provided some very dramatic examples of what farmers are concerned about in terms of the impact of exploration on their land, the impact of production with regard to subsidence, with regard to contamination of groundwater and the like, and they're very concerned that those sorts of things don't need to be repeated here in Victoria.
Alan Borden is the CEO of the first council in Victoria to make a submission to that state government against all CSG exploration.
There's a whole series of players in this industry who are involved in not necessarily the whole process, but one part of it. I don't particularly know this company, but Leichhardt Resources has many exploration licences right across Australia, including many in Victoria. And I guess the community at the moment is looking at their activities in other states to see what sort of a mining company they are.
Across the country, a rising tide of landholders protesting against CSG exploration without tough guidelines isn't going unnoticed. Without changes to state legislation to guarantee their protection, landholders are wising up and ready to fight.
I don't believe it's up to the public or the community or a landholder to have to go to this detail and this length. I'm not going to stop. If we have to blockade, we will.
7:30 contacted Leichhardt Resources offering an opportunity to contribute to that story. The company says it will not be responding to the landholders' claims through the media. Kathy McLeish reporting.